I want you to imagine something with me. It is a Tuesday morning, just like any other. You are standing at the kitchen sink, pouring a cup of coffee. The newspaper is on the counter. The radio is on, low. And for just a few seconds, something is off. Maybe the room tilts just slightly and rights itself before you can blame it on anything. Maybe one of your eyes goes a little gray, like a thin cloud passed across it, and then clears. Maybe a word you have said 10,000 times in your life doesn't come out the right way, and then just as quickly it does. You shake it off. You take another sip of coffee, and by the time you sit down at the table, you have already forgotten it happened. I need you to keep watching, because in some cases that small, strange moment you just brushed off was not nothing. It was your brain sending you a message that arrives, on average, somewhere between a few hours and one day before a major stroke. My name is Dr. Carter, and in the years I have spent working with older adults, I have sat across from too many families who said the same sentence to me. Something happened the day before, but it went away, so we thought it was fine. It was not fine. Stroke is the number 2 cause of death worldwide. It is the leading cause of long-term disability. And here is the part almost no one tells you clearly. In a large majority of cases, the brain sends out warning signals before the big event. Real, specific, brief, but recognizable signals. Researchers have studied this. The signs are known. And tonight, I am going to walk you through the 3 that seniors miss the most often. I will tell you what each one looks like in plain English, not medical jargon. I will explain what is actually happening inside your body when it occurs, and I will show you exactly what to do, and exactly what not to do, if you or someone you love ever experiences one. But before any of that, you need to understand something most people get completely wrong about how strokes actually start. Because if you understand this one thing, everything else in this video will land harder, and you will never look at a strange little moment the same way again. So let's begin there. Here is the thing most people get wrong. When most folks picture a stroke, they picture lightning. Out of nowhere. One second you are fine, the next second you are on the floor. That is almost never how it happens. A stroke is not lightning. A stroke is the last step in a long, slow process. The blood vessel that finally gives out has been quietly narrowing, stiffening, and roughening on the inside for years, sometimes decades. And in the hours and days right before it finally gives out, the vessel often gives off small, brief warnings, like a fire alarm chirping before the fire. Most people sleep through the chirp. That is what doctors call a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. The word transient just means brief. It comes, it goes. It usually lasts anywhere from 30 seconds to a few minutes to less than an hour, and then it disappears completely. As if it never happened. That disappearance is exactly why seniors miss it. Because here is how the human mind works. If a symptom goes away, we tell ourselves it was nothing. We made it up. We are imagining things. We are getting older. We did not sleep well last night. There is a story we tell ourselves for every strange little moment. And the brain is patient. It will send you the warning again and again. Until it can't. What you need to understand is this. That brief, strange moment is not your brain failing. It is your brain fighting for you. It is trying to tell you something is wrong, while there is still time to act. Quick favor before we go further. Drop your city, state, or country in the comments below. When I see where folks are watching from, it helps me tailor the advice to what people in your part of the world are dealing with. I read everyone. So tell me where you are tuning in from tonight. Now stay with me. Because before I show you the 3 signs, I want to tell you about a woman who heard her warning and almost ignored it. Her name was Margaret. And what happened to her on a Tuesday morning is the reason I am making this video tonight. Margaret was 71, a retired school teacher, 2 grown sons, 3 grandkids she watched on Wednesday afternoons. She still drove herself everywhere, to the grocery store, to bridge club, to her sister's house on Sundays. She was, in her own words, doing just fine. On a Tuesday morning in March, she was making oatmeal at her kitchen counter. and for about 30 seconds, something happened. Her right hand, the hand holding the wooden spoon, went strange. Not painful, not numb exactly, just distant, like it belonged to someone else for a moment. The spoon almost dropped. She caught it. She switched hands. She stirred the oatmeal with her left hand for a few stirs, and then her right hand was fine again. She finished breakfast. She washed the bowl. She went about her day. She did not call her doctor. She did not tell her sons. She did not write it down. She told herself, and these were her exact words to me later, "I must have just slept on it funny." She had not slept on it funny. 22 hours later, on Wednesday morning, Margaret was found by her younger son, on the kitchen floor. The right side of her body would no longer move. The right side of her face had dropped. She could see him, and she knew him, but she could no longer say his name. She had had a stroke, a serious one. The vessel that had been warning her on Tuesday morning had closed for good on Wednesday. I met Margaret in the hospital 3 days later, after she had stabilized. She could speak again, slowly. Her right side was beginning to come back, with hard work. The neurologist told her she had been very, very fortunate. Most people with her type of stroke do not recover as much as she did. And in that hospital bed, Margaret looked at me and she said something I have never forgotten. She said, "Doctor, I had the warning. My brain told me, and I argued with it." That is the line I want every senior watching this video to remember. I had the warning, and I argued with it. Because Margaret was not foolish. Margaret was not careless. Margaret was a smart, capable, healthy 71-year-old woman who told herself the same story most of us would have told ourselves. She slept on it funny. That is the trap. And that is what these 3 signs are designed to help you escape. So let me show you sign number 1. The one Margaret almost noticed, in another version of her life. Sign number 1. A curtain in one eye. Let me describe what this looks like. Because if it ever happens to you, you will recognize the moment from this description alone. You are sitting at your kitchen table, or driving, or watching television. And without warning, the vision in one of your eyes changes. Sometimes it is a gray smear, like someone smudged dirty water across the lens. Sometimes it is a true black curtain, sliding down from the top of your vision, or up from the bottom, like a window shade being lowered over that one eye. Sometimes it is just a corner of the eye going dim, like a light bulb dying, slowly, in only one room of the house. It lasts anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes, almost never longer than 10. And then it lifts. Your vision comes back. Everything looks normal again. So you do what most seniors do. You blink. You rub your eye. You blame your glasses. You blame the bright morning sun. You blame too much screen time the day before. And you move on. Here is what was actually happening. The artery that feeds your eye is not separate from your brain. It branches directly off your carotid artery, the big artery in your neck. The same artery that feeds part of your brain, so imagine that big neck artery as a major highway. And imagine the eye artery as a small exit ramp that comes off it. Your brain artery is the road that continues on. When a small piece of clot or a small fragment of plaque breaks loose somewhere along that highway, it travels with the blood. And by sheer geometry, by chance, it gets pushed into the exit ramp instead of continuing down the road. That exit ramp is your eye artery, small, easy to plug, so the blood flow to your retina stops, and your vision in that eye blacks out, briefly, until the clot dislodges and washes through. You feel lucky. You should not feel lucky, because that exact same clot, traveling 2 millimeters further down the same highway, would have plugged the road to your brain. And the result would not have been a curtain that lifts in 30 seconds. The result would have been a stroke, permanent, devastating. Doctors have a name for this brief one-eye blackout. They call it amaurosis fugax, Latin for fleeting blindness. And in any neurology clinic in America, that phrase is treated like a fire alarm going off in the building. Because in the records there is a brutal pattern. A person reports it once, then again, and the very next event is in the brain. If this has happened to you, even once, even months ago, write it down. Tell your doctor. Today. But here is what makes sign number 1 so easy to miss. The eye blackout is obvious once it happens. Sign number 2 is so subtle that most seniors do not even realize they had a warning until it is too late. Sign number 2, a moment where your body feels drunk, but you have not had a drop to drink. This is the sign that nearly every senior misses, because it does not look like a medical emergency. It looks like a clumsy moment, a senior moment, the kind of thing you laugh off at the time and forget about by dinner. Here is what it can look like. You are walking down your own hallway, a hallway you have walked 5,000 times, and for just a few steps one of your legs feels rubbery, like it forgot what it was doing. You stagger slightly into the wall. You catch yourself, and the next step is fine. Or you are reaching for the salt shaker, and your hand misses it. Not by much, just by an inch. Your fingers close on air, and you have to try again. Or you stand up from your chair to walk to the kitchen, and for 2 or 3 seconds the entire room spins. You grab the back of the chair, you wait. The spinning stops. You walk to the kitchen as if nothing happened. Most seniors call these moments getting old. They are not getting old. They are getting a warning. Here is what is happening inside. At the base of your brain, at the very back of your skull, just where your spine meets your head, sits a small ridged structure called the cerebellum. Think of it as your body's autopilot. Walking, balance, smooth movement, depth perception when you reach for a cup. The cerebellum is in charge of all of it. You don't think about any of these things consciously because the cerebellum is doing the math for you. Constantly. The cerebellum gets its blood from arteries that run up the back of your neck. And when one of those arteries narrows, or when a small clot briefly blocks it, the cerebellum for a few seconds loses its supply. The autopilot glitches. That is the wobble. That is the rubbery leg. That is the hand that missed the salt. That is the spinning room with no reason. Now, here is the part Margaret got right and most seniors get wrong. These warning glitches almost always show up on one side, one leg, one hand, one side of vision, because each side of your brain controls the opposite side of your body, and the clot only blocks one artery at a time. If both of your hands fumble at the same time, that is usually something else: neck arthritis, low blood sugar, dehydration. But a sudden, one-sided clumsiness, out of the blue, with no warning, no trip hazard, no reason, that is your cerebellum sending you a message. Write it down. Tell your doctor. Because sign number 3 is the one that finally gets people to pay attention. And it is the most heartbreaking one to ignore. Now I need to stop you. Because if you are watching this video, and you have already recognized yourself in one of the first 2 signs, even from months ago, I need you to do something before we go further. I need you to take this video seriously enough to act on what you learned tonight. Most people will watch a video like this, nod along, and forget about it by tomorrow morning. That is the trap. Stroke kills the people who knew the warning signs, but never quite got around to bringing them up at their next doctor's appointment. So tonight, please do not be that person. Now, sign number 3, the word that wouldn't come. And before I describe this one, I need to clear something up. Because there is a normal version of this, and a dangerous version of this. And every senior I have ever met has trouble telling them apart. Here is the normal version. You are talking to your neighbor at the mailbox. You go to use the word lawnmower, and for 10 seconds, you cannot find it. It is on the tip of your tongue. You laugh. You point at the garage. Eventually, the word arrives. You both move on with your day. That is not a warning sign. That is a normal aging brain doing what normal aging brains do. We all have those moments, and they get more common as we get older. Do not let me scare you into worrying about every misplaced word. Now here is the dangerous version. And it feels completely different. It does not feel like searching for a word. It feels like the engine that builds your sentences has briefly stopped working. You go to say a simple, everyday sentence, something you have said your whole life. Pass the salt, please. Or, I'm going to the bathroom. Or, Did you feed the dog? And what comes out of your mouth does not sound right. The words might come out slurred, like your mouth has gone slightly numb on one side. Or the words might be the wrong words. You meant to say salt, you said shoe, and you knew, the second it came out, that something was wrong. Or you opened your mouth to speak, and nothing came out at all. The words were in your head, clear, ready, and they could not find the road from your brain to your tongue. This lasts for a few seconds, maybe a minute, and then it lifts, and you can speak normally again, and you are shaken, because you know, in your bones, that something just went wrong inside your head. Trust that feeling. Here is the mechanism. There is a region in your brain, in most people on the left side, that is responsible for assembling the words you want to say and sending them to your mouth. When the blood supply to that region briefly drops, because a small clot has briefly blocked the artery feeding it, the assembly line stops. The words don't make it out, or they come out wrong, or they come out garbled. The same thing that happened to Margaret's hand can happen to the brain region that runs your speech. And when it does, even for 90 seconds, you have been handed the clearest warning your body knows how to send. Tell your doctor, today, not next week, not at your next checkup, today. Now I want to anchor everything I have just told you in real research, because I do not want you taking this on faith. I want you to know, exactly, that this is settled medicine. There are 3 findings you need to hear. The first comes from a large study published in the medical journal Neurology by researchers at Oxford. They examined nearly 2,500 stroke patients, and they asked a simple question: how many of these people had a warning episode in the days before their stroke? The answer was striking. Of the patients who had a warning, almost half, 43%, had it within the 7 days before their stroke. 9% had the warning on the day before, and 17% had it on the same day. That is not coincidence. That is the brain's alarm system going off exactly when I have been telling you. The second finding comes from the American Heart Association. They estimate that around 240,000 Americans every year experience a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, and most never realize what it was. And here is the number that should change how you think about this. Nearly 1 in 5 of those people will have a full stroke within the next 3 months. Almost half of those strokes happen within 48 hours of the warning. And the third finding may be the most important one for tonight. A study published in the journal Stroke in 2009 looked at over 1,100 stroke patients, and it found that more than 97% of them, 97, reported at least one classic stroke symptom in the 24 hours before they were admitted to the hospital. Almost everyone gets a warning. Almost no one acts on it. You are now in the small group that knows. So let me tell you exactly what to do. Here is exactly what to do. 3 steps. Memorize them. Step 1. The moment it happens, call 911. I want you to hear me clearly. Not call your doctor's office. Not call your son. Not call your sister to ask if it sounds bad. Not search the symptoms on Google. 911. I know that feels dramatic for a symptom that lasted 30 seconds and went away. It is not dramatic. It is exactly right. Because here is what most people do not know. There is a medication that can dissolve a brain clot, but it only works inside a narrow window after the stroke begins. A few hours, sometimes less. The faster paramedics get you to a stroke center, the more brain we save. Every single minute matters. People who wait, even a few hours, often lose the chance for that treatment forever. And one more thing, do not drive yourself. If your vision blacks out again at the wheel, or your arm goes numb on a highway, you can kill yourself and other people. Call 911, let them come to you. Step 2. If the symptom has already passed, see your doctor today, not next week. If you are watching this video and you had a curtain in your eye last Tuesday, or a rubbery leg 3 weeks ago, or a word that wouldn't come out yesterday morning, and it has now passed, I want you to do 2 things tonight. Write down exactly what happened, plain language. What were you doing? What did you feel? How long did it last? Which side of your body? Did you have any others? And tomorrow morning, Call your doctor's office the moment they open. Say these words: "I think I may have had a TIA. I need to be seen this week." That sentence opens doors. Doctors take it seriously, because they should. Step 3. Ask your doctor about 3 specific evaluations. You don't need to memorize the medical names. Just bring this video or write them down. 1. An ultrasound of the arteries in your neck to check for narrowing. 2. A blood sugar test that measures your average sugar over the past 3 months, not just today. 3. A heart rhythm monitor worn for a day or two to check for an irregular heartbeat called atrial fibrillation, which can throw clots up to the brain. Those 3 tests can find the cause of your warning, and finding the cause means the next event does not have to happen. That is the plan. 3 steps. Save it. Tell someone. Use it. Here is the truth I want you to walk away with. Stroke is not random. Stroke is not bad luck. Stroke is not a bolt of lightning from a clear sky. Stroke is a slow process that almost always sends a fast warning, and the people who survive it well, the ones who walk and talk and play with their grandchildren afterward, like Margaret eventually did, are not the lucky ones. They are the ones who heard the warning, and who refused to argue with it. You can be one of those people. Not because you are healthier than anyone else, not because you have better genes, but because tonight, right now in this moment, you know what most seniors do not know. You know what a warning looks like. You know what is happening inside your body, and you know exactly what to do. That knowledge is a gift, but it is only a gift if you use it. If you have already had something happen, even a small thing, even months ago, call your doctor tomorrow. Don't argue with it. Don't tell yourself the story. Make the call. And if you are sitting there thinking, "I'm fine, but my husband had a moment last week," or "My wife mentioned something strange and I shrugged it off," please share this video with them tonight, right now, before bed. You may save a life. You may save the life of the person sitting in the chair next to you. That is what Margaret asked me to tell you. From her hospital bed 3 days after her stroke, she said, Tell them to listen the first time. I am telling you, I'm Dr. Carter. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people you love, and I will see you in the next one.